Hey everybody, Eon Alien here. Going to teach you a few things about FL Studio. Specifically today, we're going to go over everything in the channel rack and the step sequencer. This video is really intended for beginners, people that haven't spent a lot of time in FL Studio and are just getting themselves oriented, but also for intermediate users who maybe missed a few things and want to go back and refresh on some stuff. The channel rack and step sequencer is one of the most unique and powerful things about FL Studio compared to other DAWs, and I personally started on Logic, and I came over to FL Studio, and I've just absolutely loved this feature of FL Studio. It's just very intuitive, and it lets you move really quickly and do things really fast that are perhaps would take more time in something like Logic. So the channel rack is there on the left, and the step sequencer is on the right, and we kind of have the menu bar up across the top. So we're just going to go through this whole part. We're going to kind of go through everything in this presentation right now. Okay, so up across the top, on the top left of that previous image, is the channel options menu. And you can see all the shortcuts are in gray there on the right of the menu. And so putting these shortcuts to memory over time is a good idea so that you can bring them up quicker and move more efficiently through your projects. Okay, the first thing we see there is the add one, and you can see all the categories here. These are native FL Studio effects and plugins and stuff. And a lot of us are going to be using third-party stuff from Native Instruments or Loop Masters, whatever it may be. And so we go to more plugins, and when we go to more plugins, we see this. Okay, and this green box here is where you go and scan for plugins when you download new plugins. If you're not finding them, check the paths here. Make sure that when you download those plugins from the internet, that they're going into one of these files here. If you're still having some issues or you want to customize things more, there's some more options down here. But working within this green and purple box here, that's where you can really make sure you find all your plugins. We all have hundreds of plugins. You have in the red box here is a favorites. You can check off your favorites, and then of course going across here is just all the other information about each individual plugin. Okay, so continue down that channel options menu. We can clone selected tracks, and that's basically, we have a kick here. We highlight it right here, and we do Alt C. We clone select. We get a new kick, and it keeps all the properties from the previous kick. So we're going to have the duplicated track here. It's going to be everything's the same. So if you're making some synths or something with slightly different oscillations, like a wobble bass, this is a great way to just duplicate a whole bunch of basses and then tweak each one individually. Okay, other things you can do once you have a track selected or tracks, you can use the Shift key and select multiple tracks at once, and you can left and right click to select all or unselect all. You can delete tracks. You can move them up and down. So if you want to put this kick and you want to put this kick one next to the clap here, you can do that. And this group selected thing we're going to talk a little bit about later on, but just for right now, know that you can access it right up here in this where it says all. You can kind of click on that arrow, and that's where all your groups are going to get stored. And we'll talk about what a group actually is in a little bit, and just know that the shortcut for that is Alt G. Okay, when tracks are selected, you can color select them, so you can make tracks different colors. Just if you're a visual person, it's a good idea to stay organized. You can zip tracks, so it's just really getting them out of your sight. If you have 30 tracks going, and you want to kind of compress things down a bit and not see everything at once, you can take, like, for example, this synth and the synth 2 here, and you could zip it down, and it's still there. You can see it, and you can right click, and it'll unzip and show everything again. But this image here is a little misleading. I should have had these two selected here and not these two, because if you're zipping these two, you want these two highlighted, and then you'll get this result down here in the green box. Okay, you can unzip all of your zip tracks by just doing Alt U, and you'll get everything back. You can also do some resizing things here, kind of moving around windows and buttons. These are these three things right here. If you just want to kind of save space on your screen, if you have multiple things you're looking at once, you can do some stretching and resizing. When we work with mute steps, it's basically when you're kind of tweaking things. You're working with, say you got a good volume and pan settings on one of your synths, but you're still kind of messing with things a bit, but you don't want to lose what you've got. It's kind of a useful feature. I haven't seen a shortcut. There's probably a keyboard shortcut how to do that, but I haven't seen it. We'll talk about the mixer more in another video, but just kind of know that, every instrument that you have in the channel rack can be assigned to a mixer track. You can do all types of things. You could take multiple instruments from the channel rack and route them to one mixer track, or you could take one channel rack instrument and put that to multiple mixer tracks. So there's all types of things you can do between the channel racks and the mixer. Some people, they say one of the things they wish FL Studio would change is that every channel rack instrument would automatically get a mixer track. Maybe that's something they'll do in the future, but for right now you have to do a little bit of manual work, but you have plenty of flexibility about how your channel rack instruments go into your mixer. And then finally, the detached, if you just want to take the part of the channel rack and you want to just click and drag it away from the rest of the software and kind of work with it independently, you can detach the channel rack and drag it outside of the FL Studio window. Okay, so let's go back to those group settings that I was talking about a couple of minutes ago. Okay, the basic idea here is if you have some drums that you want to put together, or maybe some synths, you can kind of group them all together. So it's similar to zipping, where with the zipping you would just hide the tracks you don't want. But let's say you want to work a little more efficiently. For example, here maybe we want to make a drum group out of these 4 drums here. Okay, so we would just simply select all these. Okay, and I think it was Alt G was the shortcut. You go ahead and make a group out of it, and then say you're working on EDM, house, dubstep music. You got 30 channel racks going. When you click on that group, it'll just show you the instruments for that group. It won't show all 30 other tracks. So that's what's useful about groups, is it lets you focus on, narrow in on what you're actually working on. Okay, so here's an example here. And once again, that shortcut's Alt G. If we want to select these 2 kicks, we would hit Alt G, and we could get a group called kicks, which I have here. And so now we got a group called kicks. And you can see all the other instruments went away. Clap, hat, and snare are gone now because all we're working with is the group called kicks. So that's all you'll see in the channel rack. Okay, some remaining channel filter group tasks. You can add groups, rename groups, delete groups, obviously all the basic things you can do with anything else, in a Windows program. You can add a channel to an existing group. So let's say you want to add a 3rd kick to that kicks group. Okay, it'll automatically go there. You just have the group selected and then select that track and it'll go there. You can move a channel between groups. You just select that channel and say you want to move, for whatever reason, you want to move a synth from the pop, the leads section to the bass section for whatever reason. You can select it and Alt G it, bring up the groups and move channels between different groups. So lots of flexibility with the channel groups. Great way to be efficient and organized. Okay, let's look at the top right of the step sequencer, and that's where we have the swing, and we also have the piano roll view. Okay, swing is just basically, say you have 4 even notes, boom, 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 boom. Okay, swing is going to make, of those 4 notes, 2 of them are going to become shorter and 2 of them are going to become longer. And the ones that become longer are doing it at the expense of the notes that are becoming shorter. So it's a very kind of jazzy kind of thing. So you're kind of doing something like that instead of just even notes. So you can just kind of adjust the swing there. In adjusting the swing here, we'll do it for all the tracks. You can also left click, open up one of the channel racks, and you can add swing independently to each of the instruments in the channel rack if you don't want to add swing across all the instruments. Okay, and then step piano roll view. Basically we have the 2 here. This is the step sequencer, and then the piano roll view. It just it changes it up and looks like that. I don't want to get into piano roll too much here because that is definitely going to be its own video because there's a lot going on in piano roll. So we're just going to kind of just know that you can use this up here to toggle between the 2 views. And once you have a better understanding of piano roll, we can go into that a little further. Okay, and finally the pan and the volume. These knobs are going to be right here. So you have your pans. If you want to make something more on the left speaker, you can go there that way. Right speaker. The volume is defaults to -5 decibels, and you can kind of go up and down from there. So once again, panning is your left, right stereo speaker distribution, and the volume is pretty self-explanatory. Okay, the channel button, this is where you actually load in the instruments, right? So you're loading the instruments here, and they're being triggered in the step sequencer. So, if you have the kick and you have these 16 beats here, you choose the kick drum here and how it sounds and everything about it. And it's going to play on beats 5. It looks like, I don't know, maybe beat 10 and beat 13, which I just kind of drew randomly. That's probably something you would never actually see in a real song. Okay. A left click button. Okay, when we left click an instrument in the channel rack, it's going to open it up. So if I actually were to left click here, it would actually bring up the kick and all the properties about the kick. When I control left click, I can preview the kick sound, so I can actually hear what it sounds like. It'll go boom. I'll actually hear the kick and see how it's coming in. When I right click, I get the channel operations menu. Okay, so it's all these things here. And we're going to go into some of these details. Some of these things we've talked about, changing the color and the icons and renaming. That's kind of very similar to the the groups that we're looking at before. Cloning and deleting, and insert and replacing. We've kind of already looked at those sort of things. But when we look at some of these things over here, these filling these steps and rotating these, this is a little more unique. Okay, so. MIDI channel through. This is when you're setting up your MIDI device. The MIDI device will get connected to your plugins, and you can have 16 MIDI channels going simultaneously. And we're gonna kind of go over this more in a MIDI video. But for one thing, I will tell you is that I'm on the road a lot, and if you're kind of traveling a lot and you not always have a big keyboard, just know you can use the typing keyboard. You can use your computer keyboard as a regular keyboard, which is really cool. And honestly, it's sometimes it's easier just to use that than the MIDI keyboard, because it's more compact. It just takes a little bit of time to getting used to where which computer keyboard notes line up with what kind of melodic notes. But it's a nice way to kind of work in a in a setting where you don't have all your stuff with you. Okay, let's talk about these filling the steps here, right? So every 2 steps, that's the red box, right? Red to red here. We're filling every 2 steps, greens every 4 steps, orange every 8 steps. Now, blues every 8 steps. The orange is every 8 steps rotated right? So we took, in the blue box here, we have every 8 steps, and then when we do every 8 steps rotated right, we're taking these 2 here, and they're getting shifted over to the right one, okay? And so these fill options here are a great way to kind of just work really quickly, but you can also left click on the notes in the step sequencer. That's the purple note that I have down here, right? And that it'll just add them individually to the boxes, and you can right click on them here and it'll delete them. I should just say, FL Studio, it's really, it's really for Windows more than a Mac. I know they have a Mac version they're working on, but it's really, the same keyboard shortcuts, cut, copy, paste, and all that stuff that work, with any other type of Windows software or whatever. It's going to work here as well. Soloing and muting. Okay, so when we got the green light on over here, it means you're hearing that track. If the light isn't on, it means you're not hearing that track. And so if you've worked with Pro Tools or Logic, you've kind of seen S and M soloing. You have the buttons in the mixer, and so honestly, that's one feature about FL Studio that I kind of miss about Logic. But you just have to get these shortcuts down, basically. So if you want a solo track, you control left click on it, right, and then you're just gonna get you're gonna get a solo track. If you want to mute, you can left click. You can also do what's called a lock state, which is pretty cool. This is kind of unique. You can shift and left click, and it'll leave. If you shift left click one of these over here, it'll lock down the mute unmute position that it's in. And so if you're going around in your if you're saying play all instruments, or you're saying solo one instrument, it'll keep it locked. So let's say, for example, you have this, all the tracks are selected, right? Let's say that all your tracks are selected, and you put the clap, right? You put the clap on a lock, unmuted. So clap's going to stay on, right? It's going to have the green light here. And then you go along later and you solo out the snare. If this clap is locked, even when you go to solo the snare, then you'll hear the clap in the snare. So that's the idea of a lock state. It means when you do these commands that affect all the tracks, the ones that are locked down won't be affected. Okay, the step sequencer. Each step is a 16th note, right? So this is one bar, right? So 16th, or really, just one full note. 16th notes, there's eighth notes, which are divvied up into 8 portions. There's quarter notes, which are, divvied up into 4 portions. So a 16th note is divvied up into 16 portions, and each of these is a 16th note. And so you can, people might think, oh, if it's only if it's only one full note, or 16 16th notes, which essentially equals 1, 1/16 times 16. You might be saying to yourself, well, that's not a lot of room to work with. I want a full bar, of 4 full notes, and you can't get up to a full bar, right? So, you can hit the bottom right corner and drag things out, and you can get more bars. And then once you have more bars, you want to use this green box here and scroll left and right. And so as we get more into the step sequencer, inevitably the piano roll gets involved, and that'll be its own separate video. I would definitely recommend learning the step sequencer, which you're obviously doing right now, before you get into the piano roll, because the step sequencer is kind of the broader view. It's like kind of the the bird's eye view, and then we get into the piano roll. It's more editing and tweaking, and it kind of feeds back into the step sequencer. So glad you're watching this video. Definitely watch the piano roll video once you feel you have a good understanding of the step sequencer. And so that's the end. Comment, like, subscribe. Future video, like I said, will cover the piano roll and many other topics. So hope you found that useful. Please let me know if there's other things in this step sequencer channel rack that I didn't cover that you wanted me to cover, but I think I pretty much hit on everything that you need to know. FL Studio is awesome. I hope you enjoy using the software, and have a great day.